Hi everyone.
Hi.
So this is the story about the first time that I had to get my hands on some emergency contraception. So I was 18 and it was the summer right before going away to college. And I had a boyfriend who was long distance. And so our time was very much supervised by my parents. And we had to be very, very creative about where we would go to fool around. And in this particular occasion, we decided to go fool around in the woods behind my house. So there are these two 18-year-olds thinking that they're being very sneaky, sort of tromping through a bunch of woods, trying to find a place to lie down, hopefully not in the midst of some poison ivy. And we weren't actually having intercourse at this point, as they say. But, you know, things happened and fluids went places, and all of a sudden, the day after this excursion happened, I'm like, oh my God, what if something horrific might have happened? And so this is just eating away at my brain. And like, I lived a very sheltered life in sort of an upper middle class suburb in New Jersey, and all I can think of is like, what would happen? What could possibly happen to me? And so I'm like, well, what do I do? Where do I turn? I'm like, well, you know, maybe you should try to get some of that Plan B, some emergency contraception. So I say, okay. And so this is me sort of like going through my parents', you know, lists of phone numbers and trying to find my pediatrician's phone number, and so I take my cell phone and I have this number written on a piece of paper, and I climb into my closet. It's like one of those sliding doors, just out of fear that my parents could possibly catch wind of this conversation. Closing the door was not going to be good enough. I had to hide in the closet, and I shut the closet and I dialed the number. And a nurse picked up and she's like, hello, how can I help you? And I'm like, I don't. So I think this thing might have happened where I got some sperm on my hands, and it may have dried, but I don't know. And this woman is like trying to understand what this hysterical 18-year-old is trying to describe to her. And she's like, sweetheart, it's okay, it's okay. You know what? It sounds pretty unlikely that anything might have happened, but if you need to get some. I'll give you a prescription. I will call this pharmacy and you can go get it there tomorrow, okay? And I was like, okay. And I hang up the phone and I open up the closet and I get onto my bed and I sit down and all I can see is this like dark void before me. Like, I get this, but what if it doesn't work? It's not guaranteed. What if I get pregnant and then I won't go to college and my parents will be disappointed in me and they'll ship me off to a convent and then I'll give birth to some horrible monster and then I'll be wrapped in a shroud for the rest of my life. It'll be horrible. This is all I can think of. And I start crying. And of course my door is slightly ajar because I hadn't thought of securing that. And my mother hears me crying and she comes into the room and she's like, oh, Sadie, what's the matter? And I'm thinking, oh God, I can't tell her. I'm just gonna sob and sound like completely incomprehensible. That's all that's gonna happen right now. She sits down, she looks at me, she's like, Sarah, are you afraid about going to college? And all I think it was like, what the fuck? I was afraid of going to college. What could possibly happen in college that would just be so terrifying? And there's this moment of wanting to deny it because the idea just offends my pride. And then I think better of it. And I look into my mother's eyes and I say, yes. And so the next day, my friend throws me into her van that we used to call the child molester van. Because it was a big white van and that's exactly what it looked like. I went to pick up the prescription, I bought her breakfast afterwards. And so this is really not only the first time that I had to get emergency contraception, it was also the first time that I was able to lie to my mother and get away with it.